Off of a week of absence. Couldn't be avoided. I apologize. And I'm happy y'all were at least checking for a brother. But I'm here now. Just got back from NYC and I'm ready to jump into this once again with both feet. It's Bro Diallo Show, live and direct. Let's get into it. Again, it's Bro Diallo with the Bro Diallo Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. I was absent all last week. I had an emergency trip to tend to some family, personal business in New York, Brook Nam, Vietnam, where they paint murals of Biggie. Anyway, still a fruitful trip. Man, family is very important. Family first, all of that. And we could be family first without being puritanical. You know, we could be family first without imitating white evangelical Christian conservative focus on the family type nonsense. You know, we can be family oriented without being hierarchical, dictatorial, patriarchal, sexist, and all that. So, I mean, it's to the point now in this context where family is, they are like, you know, take your family and shove it, because family, like everything else in this society, a lot of things that used to be beautiful, they used to be life affirming, is like whack, you know. So family is an oppressive institution because, you know, the church has contaminated it. The economy has put certain unnecessary pressures on the family institutions, you know. Sex is dangerous and deadly and exploitative. It's commodified and sold and bought, like, you know. So there's a lot of beautiful things that are corrupted, and then it causes people, instead of going to the source of the corruption, because we don't have radical analysis, which is nothing I haven't even intended to talk about, but because we don't have radical analysis, we just look at the surface. So you have some people, you know, men that feel like castrated, politically, socially castrated. Cops can kill me. I can't get a job. When I do get a job, they treat me like dirt. They don't promote me properly. They don't pay me. So the only thing I have left is this concept of manhood, where can I flex my manliness? Well, in my family, I'm going to dominate my wife and kids, and I'm lay down the law, you know. And so then, you know, you got sisters be like, I ain't trying to get married. I ain't trying to have no man over me, even if I have children. So it's just, but if we went to the source of all this chicanery, we would come with better solutions, instead of this pendular thing where you go to one extreme to the next. Like, well, family is the savior of all, and you fetishize what the family is and put the man back at the head of the family. Or you go to the other pendular, like family is an oppressive institution, do away with family, go for self. But like I said, all things are... But anyway, I'm saying all that because a family member reached out to me and said, bro, I need you. They didn't say bro. This is actually my aunt, so... She was like, son, young man, I need you. And I'm like, I'm there. And that's a good thing. I mean, for my own ego. I mean, it was work and I had a lot of work to do. It was hard work. But I was happy to be available to my people. Makes me nothing feel better than when my relatives and my family. See, there's a difference between relatives and family. Relatives are people you related to. By blood, you don't pick them. They there. It's down for life. You jumped in that game. What did it say? I'm in a game that's in an all-out war. They jump me in when they knife my umbilical cord. That's your relatives. That was a line from Boots Riley. When you cut your umbilical cord, them your relatives. But then you have your family, which may or may not include your relatives, but also your extended people. People you have common cause, you share your burdens with, that you take on their tasks, you look out for. So I got extended family and relatives. And it's nothing better than being able to be there for your family. Your extended family, your immediate family, your related family, and your ideological family, your political family, and if you have such delusions, even your spiritual and religious family. So anyway, that's where I was, doing family business, taking care of my people. And forgive me, because my show was supposed to be queued up. I came in here with King Dita, shout out. and we taped a live show. That will be the lost episode. So 100 years from now, some Indiana Jones Tomb Raider will go and dig up that show. That's the lost show because it wasn't aired. I'm putting it in the archives though. But King Dida and I came in here late night, taped the show that was supposed to air. I don't know if it aired or not. And then I was getting messages that Wednesday that it was Spanish music or Latino Hispanic music. I don't know. But it was definitely Spanish speaking music from what region? Honduran, Mexican, Bolivian, European, we don't know. Spanish is pretty because those vicious conquistadors invaded and raped cultures all over the world. So they got Spanish speakers all over the place. But anyway, they were playing Spanish music and I was getting the message, nothing I could do. I'm in Brooklyn, yo. I had on my Timbs, I had my 40 and my shorty. So I couldn't help y'all from there. And I was very sorry. I tried to contact the station, but again, it was a working trip, so I didn't have time. I wasn't sipping coconut drinks on the beach. I was doing some work for my people. So anyway, long story short, I'm back now, so we're all safe and secure. And all things are as we remember them. So let's get into this. And I'm going to come out of that rabbit hole talking about family being, for some people, the saving grace, the Messiah, this fetishized idea that if we put the man back at the head of the household, all things would be right in hood, as if black men who were heads of households weren't swinging from trees in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Or you got the whole, I don't need a family, young dude, it's like I ain't never getting married, they ain't gonna trap me in that. Or women saying, it's an oppressive institution, I ain't gonna try to have no man lording over me. We need balance. Because both sides got valid arguments, but we need to not even meet in the middle. Let's just flip that whole board over and go somewhere else with it. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I wanted to talk about was there's a lot, man. I heard that Brad and Angela are divorcing. That Kim Kardashian got juked. Class warfare. Yes. No. Yes. A yes and more yes. I hope it was some people that work in the sweatshops that make her cheesy, chintzy, toxic products that did it. But anyway, I can't talk about that important stuff because there's too much other stuff that's distracting us from really enjoying the lives of dysfunctional celebrities. Like Michelle Alexander. Michelle Alexander announced, I don't know when she announced it. I can only talk about when I heard stuff. So I might be bringing up stuff that might be like old to you, but it's new to me. So, but on CityLab.com, she gave an interview to a Mr. Brent Locke, at Brent Locke on Twitter, basically announcing that she's leaving the legal profession and she's about to go into preacher pork chopper. That's what we need. She's going to teach at the New York Seminary School, and the Union Theological Seminary of New York. And you go to their mission page, you go to their website, utsnyc.edu, and it's one of the oldest preacher, teacher, Reverend Pork Chop Chicken Wing schools in the nation. And they're basically saying we're trying to promote the church, the ideas of the church, and we're using men and women, we bring them here, we educate them, and go out and spread the gospel. Because Christianity and Islam, unlike Judaism, is an evangelical religion. God mandates that the followers go out and spread the word, spread the good news, bring more people into the flock, either through persuasion or through at the end of a sword or a saber, or a shotgun, or beheading, or rip your tongue out, or stick hot pincers in your anus. Yes, they did all of that to awaken people to the light of Christ and to the wisdom of Allah. So Michelle says that mass incarceration is a moral and spiritual crisis. Now, most of the interview is her just rehashing what she put in the new Jim Crow. So that's actually a quite minor part, but that stands out to me more than anything. Because after that, she's just rehashing some of the policy suggestions that she did, some of her analysis and assessments and motivations and sources of mass incarceration. So the interview is quite not different. If you've been following her since, 2010, 2011, when she dropped that phenomenal book. But it's a liberal book. It's not a radical book, and that's the problem. But if you follow her book, She's just rehashing a lot of what she said. But that little point where she's like, I'm leaving the law profession. I'm leaving the technical. She said, it's not a technical thing. It's not a policy issue. It's not a legislative solution to this. And I'm going to Union Theological Seminary to go talk to the soon-to-be religious elite, the white religious elite, in this elite white institution in the Empire State, in the mass incarceration. Remember the Rockefeller drug laws? They set it off in New York. So she's going there to try to spiritually awaken the mass incarcerators, and I guess the mass incarcerated. And like I said, Reverend Chicken Wing, Reverend Hoop and Holler, Al Sharpton, and Jesse Jackson, they getting old. Minister Farrakhan, they getting up there in age. So hey, we need to recycle in some new religious leadership anyway, right? So soon it'll be Reverend Alexander. Let my people go, Lord. Touch the heart of the warden. Touch the heart of the judge. Touch the heart of the prosecutor and tell them, you let my people go down, Moses. And let's gloss over the fact that Moses had to take a lot of heads. Moses killed babies. Moses was on some Nat Turner stuff, if you believe the comic book fiction of the Bible. Moses, and not even when Moses, to get his people free, he shed crazy blood. He drowned a whole army in the Red Sea. But then when he got across, when his people started tripping, he started killing them too. Like, everybody get in line. So Michelle Alexander, even if you're going on some hoop and holler, chicken wang, eyes to the sky type slant to your analysis, you still not exempt from doing the do. But anyway, let me calm down off of that. And I just say, I think it's absurd for you to have, and this is menticide. This is exactly what Bobby E. Wright said, where you can, menticide, basically, he said you're anti-analytical, ahistorical, and what's one other major fundamental component? You're ahistorical, anti-education, and anti-analytical. More or less. I should have wrote it down. But I remembered it this morning, so I didn't think I had to write it down. But anyway, he stated that you can understand something clearly, you can see it and understand something fundamentally, but then your response to it is out of touch. So you understand something like, I see this problem, it's clear to me, and what I'm going to do is something that's bass-ackwards to address it. That's a little pig Latin. Because we on AM 1160 Q4 Radio, Q4.org, broadcasting live from Genesis Art Supply. We got a small studio off to the back in the side where we're making dreams come true. So that's a mental disconnect. It's like, my people are under attack. I understand the motivations and the nature of the attack and the ultimate outcomes of the attack. How do I stop the attack? By doing something that's totally unrelated to the attack. That's something that will not, by any analysis. So Michelle Alexander, if you read the book, which is a good book, and I still recommend people read it, even if she catches the Holy Ghost, even if she's hooping and hollering and promoting myths, still read the book. Still read the book, and then teach her what the book says. Like, hey, sis, remember? Because when I was a group, talking about New York, when I used to be in New York, and I see people, like I met Ice-T, I met Freddie Fox, a lot of, I met, I'm the Magnificent, Special Ed, and I met the Jungle Brothers. I played basketball with the Jungle Brothers, so, I'm quite well connected. But I would always go up to people and be like, yo, you Ice-T, you did Ron Pays and Power. I love them albums. You're dope. I'm like telling people what they should know or already know. And so that's what we have to do with Michelle Alexander. You have to go to Michelle Alexander and say, hey, Sister Michelle, Reverend Alexander, don't you remember that you said this was a conscious cognitive policy, a deliberate policy to maintain the status quo? So it's not about moral or spiritual. There's nothing supernatural here in your own book. Don't you remember in your introduction that you said that when you were a Negro, when you were unconscious, before you even knew that there was a such thing as a Jim Crow, go back and read the book. She stated that she would see these flyers around Oakland or wherever she was doing, pro bono law in her early stages of her career. And she'd see these flyers that would say, genocide against the black community. Mass incarceration is genocide, genocide. And she said, she thought to herself, that's just some hyperbole. Those are crazy black militants talking crazy black nonsense. And if you work hard, believe in yourself, and do everything else Bill Cosby told us to do, minus the drugging and serial raping, you can succeed in America, because America is a place of opportunity. She believed all that. And then she was like, whoa, those crazy black militants was right. Now, she never used the G word again, but she danced around it. She didn't go so far as say this is a deliberate, conscious genocide, but we know from studying the Armenian genocide, looking at Pol Pot, looking at other mass eliminations in Soviet Russia, of course, Nazi Germany, mass incarceration, mass containment is the first and most fundamental component of genocide, especially when you're locking people up along ethnic, religious, or racial lines. But she didn't. She mentioned genocide saying that the crazy black militant radicals whom she dismissed, and she should give all of them writing credit in the book, if not royalties, because she said that they awakened her, even though she scoffed at them. It's time to reawaken Sister Michelle. And a lot of people said to me, I don't see what's wrong with that. I don't really see the problem. The problem is we've been trying to morally... Professor William Mackey said there's a lot of black folks who believe that white folks will do right by us just as soon as they figure out how. So we spend so much of our effort in trying to awaken white people to how wrong they are. It's like, oh, white man snatching that black baby from that black child's arms and selling it off to the other side of the state where the mother will never see it again, or having breeding farms where you force a black woman to give birth every 9 months to children and selling them off. Don't you know that's wrong? And that might even mess up your karma or knock your chakras out of alignment. We've been investing so much time in trying to humanize, awaken our oppressor, to let them know that Black Lives Matter, to let them know that what they're doing, you know, it kind of is a bad thing to steal $1 trillion worth of wealth from us and then gut our communities economically, redline our communities, dump drugs in our communities, and then send in fascist homicidal cops into our communities. You know, that's probably not the best thing for us. We're kind of not cool with that. And hey, it might even just hurt your self-esteem, perhaps. We've been trying to moralize our oppressors for so long, and it hasn't worked, you know. And even Amos Wilson said, you know, if you don't have a moral goal, then you don't need moral steps. Morality is not relevant to this. We know what is relevant to them. They paper, they money, they fiat currency. So you can get them there, pow, you know, cut your money off. We know that there's certain things that is sensitive to them, but the morality of an issue don't matter, you know. And when you talk about their spirituality, Michelle, come up on out of Union Theological Seminary. Don't go there. And she's going there as a guest professor, but I think she's just basically, she's about to become a religious leader. And if we're totally starved for religious, spiritual leadership, right? Because she's either talking about, because when she said, she didn't even specify, when she said that mass incarceration was a moral, spiritual issue, she didn't even say on whose part. Like, is it because black folks, do we need the moral, spiritual awakening, or do white folks? Who are you going to evangelize? Well, she's going to Union Theological Seminary, so I assume she's going to go and tell white folks that their morality and their spirituality is at stake, and threaten them with holy hellfire if they don't let her people go. I don't know. Michelle Alexander, Sister Moses. That's my new name for Michelle Alexander. And let me tell you what I think she failed to do. Because Michelle Alexander is a liberal. When you read her book, she has a liberal complaint. And as the great radical socialist political scientist, Dr. Michael Parenti says, you have two responses on the good side, on the left, on the liberal side. Excuse me. You have liberal complaint or liberal understanding versus a radical analysis. So a liberal complaint basically says, this is wrong. And let's figure out ways to fix this component of a larger system. So there's a whole system of institutions, infrastructures, ideas, scholarships called global white domination. That's what I call it. Other people call it American democracy. Other people call it God's will. They just the way of the world. Like it's natural. Like it was, 2 stone tablets descending on heaven saying this is the way the world should function. And you have people that say, well, they'll identify aspects of it. Like women aren't treated right in this. Or black folks aren't treated right. And instead of just smashing the stone tablets and flipping over the table and say, end it all, they say, let's reform this component of an overall system. And that's the liberal complaint. A radical analysis says mass incarceration is tied to everything else, including the religion of the society. So you can't stop mass incarceration, sexism, racism, oppression without doing away with the economy, doing away with the means and methods of production, without dismantling the armed services. And even people like Colin Kaepernick, you'll be like, yeah, I don't like police brutality, but I support our troops. How, Sway? How? You got to be against the troops if you're against police brutality. And yes, you have to be against the good and the bad cops. If you look at a beehive, all bees don't sting. Some bees have stingers, some don't. But you got to, the whole hive supports the stinging bees that are the problem for you. And it's a horrible analogy because I love bees. We need bees. And bees are under great distress. I think I'm going to do a show strictly on ecology, ecocide. I want to get Wise Intelligent on the show because he does a lot of reading, research, and work towards, enduring the collapse of Western civilization. And have him come on and promote his new album and talk about collapse. But, I'll reach out to him. And Wednesday, I got Brandon Grace, an up-and-coming scholar. Hopefully, he won't catch the Holy Ghost and run off to some chicken wang type, instead of solutions built from the ground up, having solutions descend from on high, from the clouds. Where was I? Totally lost where I was. Oh, I was talking about radical analysis versus a liberal complaint. So Michelle Alexander had some good elements in her book. She did tie to economic, capitalism and things of that nature, but she didn't ultimately say, we need revolution to fix this. So she proposed an inadequate solution, reform, legislation, protest, everything that fits well within the parameters of the system. But then she's like, wow, my ineffective solutions didn't work. So I'm going to come up with a whole different set of ineffective solutions, i.e. working on the morality and spirituality of America. And proposing moral and spiritual solutions where legislative and policy and reform solutions have not worked. And maybe after another 20 years of that mess, maybe she'll get around to, we need a revolution. We need to dismantle the systems and institutions of capitalism, white domination, and even the U.S. government. We may just have to engage in everything from reparations to repatriation to revolutionary armed struggle by any and all means necessary. We might have to sojourner truth it and walk the street barefoot and tell the truth to the people, educate and enlighten our people, and then we might have to Nat Turnery and hack some folks up with machetes. It's like Barack Obama said, all things are on the table. Remember that he said, they say, would you use, and everybody got upset when Trump said, yeah, nuke our enemies. But number one, Obama has been using depleted uranium, nuclear weapons. I can't get it. Wait, I promised that I would not deal with the elections until October. So we're in October. So I'm going to be talking about the upcoming general election. It's about a little over a full month away. So we will be talking election talk. But I kept my promise to avoid jumping into, the circus, the orgy of self-inflation, which is U.S. political system, electoral system. So, did I say everything I say? I'm sorry for ranting about this. I want to give something cogent, but it's just so upsetting. I'll have to maybe wait a week or two before I can really talk calmly about this. It just annoys the crap out of me that we have yet another brilliant black mind being turned over to religious delusions. And even if you personally have a religious belief system. You don't want the people working on your solutions or working on societal problems being religious. You know, if you went into a doctor's office and somebody was about to operate on your mama, and you say, where did you go to medical? Say, I didn't go to medical school. God gave me the knowledge to do operations. I got it from heaven, from prayer, from meditation. Like, you didn't get it from technical study and review and practice? No. I am a spiritual healer. So licensed physician, spiritual healer. Pick one. And the most religious MFers, when they really, really have some issues, when they really got that gut bubbling, you know, they'll go to the spiritual healer after they keep their doctor's appointment. And I am not a big proponent of allopathic medicine. I worked as an allied health care worker for over a decade. But I'm just saying, as bad as allopathic medicine is, it's not as ineffective as spiritual healing. So the last thing we need is more of our scholars, more of our thinkers, more of our writers, than going over to telling us, I'm going to teach Bible crap at a Bible school to solve real world substantial problems. We've been praying. It just blows my mind. Michelle was a liberal, and she goes from liberalism to delusion when she should have went radical. I don't mind people, because I was a liberal. I wasn't never really religious. I was indoctrinated into religion, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I was a liberal. And I'm sure any of y'all, you know, if I ever got some status, people can go and say, well, this brother, I worked under Kellogg grants. I worked for the United Way. You know, I've worked for the Stop the Violence Coalition and all these groups that says then kumbaya groups. Saying all we need is love, all we need is a little bit more understanding, all we need, you know, is that kind of crap. So I was a liberal. I wasn't always radical in my analysis. But then I didn't say, well, I tried to do the liberal thing and now I'm going to do the religious thing. I'm like, oh, this don't work. We need radicalism. There ain't no way to fix this. It ain't no way to reform this. I agree, Michelle. I agree, because initially you were like, we need reform, we need a movement, we need da-da-da-da-da. And then you're like, that doesn't work. And I'm like, yes, she got it in her own time. Bless you, sister. And then she was like, no, we got to take it to the altar, lay it at the foot of Jesus. You know? And you couldn't even go to I guess you can. Islam don't even play that liberal mess for letting women get up in their, what do they call them? Madrasas. So I guess that wasn't even an option. If she went Islamic, maybe. But yeah, I guess ain't no place. Maybe she could get a husband and have him go in. But I don't know. Is she married? I don't know. I know a brother, conscious, revolutionary brother, who's also well-educated like yourself. So, you know, you can still remain in the talented tent. You'll still be a Negro elite, you know. And he's entrepreneurial. Komet, get at your girl. If she's single, I know you single. Holla at your girl, man. Drop some of that, you know, tell her to come over here with us. You know, yes, it's cold. Yes, it's under-resourced. Yes, it's unpleasant. But at least we're right? At least we're right. On the radical, militant black side, we're correct. I don't know if that's enough, you know, but it has to be enough, because that's all we got is, at least we're right. We're not as well funded, well recognized, well respected as all these other components of black existence. But we're right, damn it. And not right because we believe we're right. We got the documents. You know, we got the stats. History redeems us every time. So, Michelle, you're right. No legislative solution. Now, there are legislative tactics. There are policy strategies, but there's only revolutionary solutions. And then you become more regressive. And that's another thing I have to tell us militants about, us conscious revolutionary Pan-Africanists. That's something we have to understand. Because when we come out rah militancy, a lot of times we can drive our people closer into the arms. So we have to use tact. And I know everybody's rolling their eyes right now that I'm talking about tact. But even as I insult my black folks who believe in Jesus or Allah, and I talk very harshly about different ideologies, from feminism to the gay rights movement, yes, there's an element of tact in there. It's just the tact is so tactful that you can't even see it. It just looks brash and insensitive, but really it's very tactful. But anyway, that's all. I mean, I can go more into this, but I just shared the article about it. But this is really about menticide. I think Michelle Alexander is a victim of menticide. By the time you have a black person that spends a decade studying, writing, and touring the world to talk about mass incarceration, the fundamental component of genocide, and who even in the book she says that she rejected the notion that it was an idea of genocide. And then she goes deeper. And let me tell you one more thing before I go to break, because I'm going past the break. You're going to the church. Do you know that the foundations of the U.S. prison systems come out of the church? I think it might even be in your book. You wrote a little something about the history of the prison system. Where do they send people? The penitentiary. What did the word penitentiary come from? Penance. What is penance? Paying what you owe to God for some violation. The first jailers in this country were religious leaders. It was the Quakers, I believe, or the Shakers or the Bakers, one of these religious cults, because this country was founded by religious cultists, extremist cultists. Puritans weren't Puritans because they wanted to be pure. Puritans were called Puritans because they wanted to purge the faith. How do you purify something? You burn it. These were the mother humpers who were burning people at the stake. Even when they came here, Salem witch trials and all that. The Puritans were not about purity. It ain't about, lemon zest and freaking vinegar to clean something without chemicals. That's not the kind of purity they're talking about. They're not talking about being chaste or not having sex or being freaky deaky. That's not the kind of Puritan. The Puritan they're talking about is like these racists who want to have an all-white country. No speck of any color. No flavor. Just salt, pepper, and white folks. None of these exotic seasonings from the Caribbean and Africa and India, Asia, So when they say Puritan, these are the people who founded this country, who founded Union Theological Seminary, where now you are going to teach and be taught. So the foundations of you're going all the way to the foundation, and maybe you on some spook who sat by the door stuff. And I don't want to out you, because you go there to teach and they're going to start checking your bag. Because maybe you're going in there with something in your bag, something in your head where you're going to blow it up from the inside. Maybe you realize that the foundations of mass incarceration is puritanical moralism. You do drugs, you're bad. You violate the laws, you're a bad person who must be punished. As God will punish us for eternity, man must punish on earth. That whole thing. Because you had whole societies that didn't even have prisons. Didn't have a word for jails. Putting people in the stocks, putting bamboo shoots up fingernails, that came out of the church, the Inquisition. So how are you going to the very foundations of torture and mass incarceration and punishment and uncleanliness and defining people as sinful and bad and criminal and needing to be punished by a higher authority? You're going to the church to deal with mass incarceration, Michelle? Reverend Michelle? Sister Moses? Come on. I thought you should be like, yeah, I was attacking the prison system, but you should be banging on the religious system too. And you couldn't even go into Islam, which, is whack as Christianity, but at least in this country, people think it's kind of a radical alternative when it ain't, but at least on the surface. You could go and do the chakra aligning, sage burning, patchouli dabbing behind the ear type spirituality. There's all kind of alternatives. But you go into the freaking established Christian establishment talking about Michelle Alexander, I know you can hear me. I can fix it for you though. Because I understand your problem is not now. I got a single brother, educated just like you. He's up there like you. He's one of the good ones who did everything they're supposed to do to get where they need to be in society. Lawyer, and he's a numbers dude. So law, finances, y'all would make a power couple, right? So come on up out of there. Don't take off the habit. Put down the Bible. I'm gonna hook you up with a dude. I'm gonna help you fix, your analysis. I'm going to make you less afraid to say this is a conscious, deliberate genocide against African people, an ongoing race war. I'm going to let you say these uncomfortable words, black folks, white folks, genocide, oppression. revolution, violence, bloodshed. You don't be afraid. It's just words that provoke people, that stimulate you. Biochemical, synaptical interactions that may or may not lead to correct action. But, that's it. I promise folks I will tell because folks didn't like me saying. So there's a chance. Maybe she has snapped. Maybe she's on some mental pathways. Maybe we'll get her back. Maybe she's on some spook who sat by the door. This story remains to be told. But it's not as interesting as Kim Kardashian getting jacked. Or the breakdown of the Brangelina Empire. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to be having to talk, which I don't want to, which I didn't want to, but I have to talk about homosexuality, black liberation, and the gay black pride, straight black pride movement. Alright, so let's take a musical break, and I apologize for this. I like to play progressive music, conscious music, old school conscious music, but I just got back from Brooklyn, y'all. I got my Timbs and they're poorly laced up. You know what I'm saying? Son, I got my ball cap, Harlem. I'm just New York right now. I ain't shed the funk and the film of New York City. It's still on me. So that's going to be reflected until I'm able to shake that swagger, son. I might be saying word is bond a lot. Who knows? But like I said, I got to take it to Brooklyn, Harlem, Queens, Long Island. You know what I'm saying, son? Yo, word is bond. So let's take a musical break and be back with more of the Bro Diallo Show. And like I said, hopefully I can shake this whole straight out of Brooklyn thing that I'm feeling just now. But right now, this is where I'm at. So it's all a dream. All right? I'll be back shortly. Peace. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Anyway, going off live, but you can catch me q4.org, Q4 Facebook, listen to me live, or catch this show archived at Diallo Pinata. But I really need some live. I need y'all to get them numbers up. That's my job. Y'all can't see them. There's like people in suit and ties over here looking at me like, get the numbers up. So anyway, tune in. AM 1680 if you're in Chicago. Tune in q4.org. Listen live from anywhere in the world. And what's the other thing I said? Oh, on their Facebook. Peace.